Hello guys, welcome back to the third session of Simple Login tutorial series. In the last session, we learned about Bootstrap grid system. If you have not seen that video, I request you to watch it before continuing. Alright guys, let's see what we have done so far. Here, we created a container div with padding 5. Then inside the container, we have a row div with a padding of 2, and inside the row, we have a column div. In fact, our page is still blank. So, let's add some background. I personally prefer CSS gradient background over images. You can use whatever you like. For gradient background, you can either create it your own, or use any online gradient generation tool. Here, I am using the uigradients.com. Alright, let's find a nice gradient. I am not a good UI designer, so use your own color choices. Here, this looks good for me anyway, so let's copy the CSS code. Alright, now, open our style sheet, styles.css file, and add a body tag selector in it. Now, paste the CSS gradient rule inside the body tag. Okay, now save the file, and let's see this on the browser. Beautiful. Now, let's add some text on our page, and see how it looks. Okay, this is our default font. According to the Bootstrap documentation, Bootstrap uses a native font stack to choose the best font for every OS. These are the fonts that Bootstrap uses. However, we can override these rules and use our own web fonts. So, let's do that. For custom web fonts, Google Fonts are the best option. Here, you can use any of these fonts. In the demo application, I was using the Montserrat font. So, let's select it. Okay, now we need to select the font styles. Here, I am selecting the regular and medium font styles. When you are done with style selection, select the import option. Now, copy the import URL from the below section, and paste it in the style sheet. Remember, import URL must be at the top of the CSS file. Now, from the Google Fonts page, copy the font family CSS rule, and paste it in the body tag selector. Okay, now let's see it in the browser. Perfect, it's working. Alright, we don't need this text anymore. Now create a div here, with an ID, form wrap. We will create our form layout in this form wrap div. Okay, at first, let's add our login title. In the form wrap div, create another div with an ID, form title. In the form title div, create the main title with a heading 3 tag. Now, duplicate this heading tag, and replace the main title with subtitle text, and change the tag to heading 5. I forgot to add comments at the end of these div, so let's add it real quick. Alright, now let's try it on the browser. Well, it's not that much interesting. So, let's add some styles to our form warp div. Okay, set the background color to white. Then, add a border radius of 9 pixels. Now, set the padding of 20 pixels for every side, and finally, add a box shadow with 0 pixel horizontal length, 1 pixel vertical length, 6 pixel blur, 4 pixel spread, and RGB black color with 20% opacity. Alright, it looks better now. Now we need to align this text to center. To do that, add the Bootstrap text center class to the form title div. Perfect. Now, it's time to create our form elements. Go back to the Bootstrap page, and under the Forms tab, select the Form Control link. Bootstrap form controls are very useful to create various types of user inputs. You can read more about form controls in this page. And in the Input Groups section, you will find more styling and customization options. In the demo application, I used Input Group with add-on icons and validation feedback. So, select the validation link and go to the server-side link in the right pane. Here, we have a username field with add-on icon and validation feedback. So, this field fits perfectly for our current application. Alright then, let's copy this username field. Now, in the index file, create a form element, right under the form title div, and paste the input field. Alright, in case you wonder what happened here, I just formatted the code. Now, let me clean it up a little bit. Okay, now let's see it on the browser. Well, it's too big for this screen size, so let's make it responsive. In the column div, set the column width, for smaller screens 12, for medium, 10, and 6 for large, and very large screen size. Better. Now, add the MX Auto class, and it will align this div to center. Nice. In case you're still confused with these classes, I suggest you to read Bootstrap documentation about grid system and spacing. Alright, now let's change this at symbol to Font Awesome icon. Go to the Font Awesome page and search for user icons. Now, click on the icon you want to use, and you will be directed to a details page. In this page, click here to copy the HTML code. Now go back to the index page, replace the @ symbol with the Font Awesome HTML code. Alright. User icon is set. Meanwhile, I noticed that this invalid feedback message is little confusing. Let's correct it. Alright. Now, let's move the user icon inside the input field. I don't know how to do that in Bootstrap, but there is a simple workaround. At first, inside the input group, create a new div with a custom class. Here, I am using the class name, custom icon. Now, move everything from the input group to custom icon div. Okay, now we don't need this span, so move the icon outside and delete the span. Alright, now in the browser, this may look little weird. Don't worry, we will fix it with CSS. Alright, in the style sheet file, add the custom icon class, set the position to relative, with 100% width. Now, for the I tag, which has our Font Awesome icon, set the position to absolute, and align it to left. Okay, now, the icon is inside the input field, but not positioned right. So, let's add 10 pixels padding around the icon. Perfect. The only problem we have here is the input text. It starts just under the icon. So let's add some left padding to the input field. Beautiful, our username field is ready. Now we need a password field, so let's create it. For our password, we can simply duplicate this username field and change it to password. Now, let's see how it looks in the browser. Alright, we need some margin between these fields. So, let's add some margin at the bottom of the input group. Okay, I think it's too much, let's try margin 3. Alright, looks good. Now, the only thing left in the password field is the icon. So let's change it. In the Font Awesome page, search for password icon. Mostly, key icon, or the lock icon is used in the password field. You can use either of it. I prefer the key icon. Alright, copy the code, and replace it with the user icon. Good, now we are done with the input fields. We will do the remaining layout in the next session. If you learned something from this video, please drop a thumbs up. And, please subscribe to this channel. See you in the next session. As always, thank you for watching.